Good morning and welcome back to Spring Framework Web MVC, and today we are going to start from the scratch, but we are going to start with Java based, or we can say annotation based configurations. We are not going to use XML configurations right from the scratch, and without wasting much of your time, let's get started. And in case if you have jumped into video number 9 directly, I reckon you going back and checking all the videos from video number 1, part 1 to part 9 before you can get started with part number 8 right here. So let's get quickly started. Go to STS, which is your Spring tool suite, and open a new project. I'll say new, and a new Maven project, right? And then next, and architecture type is going to be archetype, which is web app. We are going to start with web app. I'll say next, and group ID is going to be, I'll keep the same, trainingindustry.com. So maybe I'm making training industry, and artifact ID is going to be training industry, which is my project name. And the package is going to be com.trainingindustry. So this is my package com.trainingindustry, right? And trainingindustry.com is group, and the project name is artifact ID, means the project name is training industry, right? So I'll say finish, right? So now it's building up the space. First things first, the first thing that you are going to notice is this error, right? That you're not able to render HTML applications or HTML pages, right? HTML is not understood by the server because server is not there. So because it is a web application requires a web server for rendering. I'll quickly go to properties, right? And I'll go to the runtime. So targeted runtime, I'll choose Apache Tomcat, right? If it's not been installed, if you're not installed it, I reckon you installing and then configuring it, right? The moment you set the targeted runtime, the error is gone. The second thing that you want, I've already set up all my dependencies in the previous project. I'll just copy those dependencies from pom.xml. You already know the list of dependencies that we require, right, to configure our pom file. Now you can see the moment I go with dependencies, right, you can clearly see that Maven dependencies, I'm only having unit testing. So that's JUnit 3.8.1.jar included. That's only for unit testing, right? So I want more dependencies to, in order to proceed ahead with the Spring Web MVC. The moment I save these dependencies, now you can say I've been able to get all the dependencies, which include org.spring framework, which is spring.web, spring.web MVC, and it has also Spring Core. All the dependencies have been included. Now I'll just close it down. Now I'll go to training industry, and all the dependencies are now included. Now I have to go with what do you call them as annotation based configuration. So for that, the first things first, right? So I'll say for annotation based configuration, I may first require a Java folder. Whenever you go and start making a new project, right, with STS, you have to open this src, which is a source folder, and go to main, and you have to manually, I don't know why, but yeah, it should be automatically there, but it's not. You have to manually, make a folder there, right? Create a new folder manually and name it Java. So without this folder, nothing is going to work. Your annotations, your controllers are not going to work, right? The moment you make this folder, now what I do here, every single package is going to reside inside here. So now I'll click Java and I'll say new package. So the package is going to be training industry, right? So I'll say org.trainingindustry. I'll say config. So this is going to be my configuration package, right? And another package is going to be, right, I'll make another package, and this package is going to be my controller package, right? So this is going to be the package where I will allow Apache Tomcat to do that component scan, so this is my component directory. Now I'll go to config. First things first, I'll make annotation based web.config file. So I'll say a new class, and I call this class as let me call this as web config. So let me call this as web config directly, right? Now you know it has to extend from the biggest name available. So I'll say it extends from A, and that is the abstract. Now abstract annotation config dispatcher servlet initializer. The moment you extend it from this file, you still have to import, or we can say implement, all the abstract methods here. Right? The first things first, so this is string, that means you have to return string to this function, and this is of type class, that means you have to return class, and you have to return class here, right? At this moment in time we are returning null. I'll say no, I don't want to return null since you are of type string and you want to take URL mappings. Now I'll return URL mapping, right? You know, if I go to web.config file, if I show you this, for example, we have this web.xml file, not web.config, web.xml file. If I go to web.xml file, I make something like this servlet, and I call this as dispatcher servlet, and then I make mappings for slash, right? So that's the same thing I'll be doing, but not using web.xml file. So instead of web.xml, the replacement will be this webconfig.java. So now I'll say, hey, I want to return a new string, but it is not a plain string. I have to return a string array here, right? Because the type of the function is as that of string array. So I'll say slash. I want to configure this slash. Whenever anyone types this slash, what do you want? I'll say I want to configure this class right here. So this is going to be, let's assume this to be the servlet configuration tag and this to be the URL mapping tag. And here what I do, I will say, hey, you return a new class, because it's a class array, so I'm going to return a new array of type class, right? And what do you want? And here I want my front controller. If you know that it was about front controller, if I go back 2 or 3 classes, right? If you go to class number 6, I made you understand that when the request comes, the request goes to web config, and this is the web config which takes all the URLs and dispatches the request to the front controller, and that is where that front controller is going to take care of each and everything. That front controller is going to comprise the suffix and the prefix. You'll see that. Let's first make that controller. You'll come to know, right? Is going to be instead of a new front controller.xml, we'll make this right here. So I will say I need a new Java class, and let me call this as front controller. Now this is going to be my main configuration, right? So I'll use the annotation, so that is configuration annotation, right? And this is not only going to be my configuration, but also I want my component scan to happen, right? So I want my component scan. If you have not seen the previous video, because you'll not be able to understand anything without previous video, component scan, I want to do it on a directory, right, which is on a package, right? So that's going to be this controller package. So this is my component directory. So I'll say do component scan here. Whenever you want to search for components, how do you search for components? Whenever any request from the URL comes, right? Because you have not configured anything using XML files, now components are going to be looked in a specific directory. So that's why I say you got to see all the components here, which is org dot. Now I'll just copy it. I'll say okay, let me refactor and rename. I don't have to rename, I just copy it, right? So this is where I want to run my component scan, right? Okay, so this is where I want to run my component scan. So now you are making your front controller ready, and the first things first, I'll go to my web INF. I'll say, hey, I need a folder inside you, and that folder is for views. All right, so now inside a view I may have, for example, a new let me take a new JSP file in here and call this welcome. All right, and now I have to fix the prefix and the suffix of this welcome here, as you have seen in the previous video. And for that I have to override a class which is going to be I have to override it, right? Yeah, I will override it, or not, I will take a bean, right? So let me take a bean. So I'll say public internal resource view resolver, and I call this as view resolver. And always make sure that the bean tag is decorated. You're decorating it with bean tag. The moment you decorate it with bean tag is going to, now you have to return something back. So I will make an internal resource view resolver. So I say vr is equivalent to new internal view resolver. You're making an object of this, and because the type of the function is internal view resolver, so I have to return the appropriate type to function. So I will return this vr back to function. But yeah, before I return this vr back to the function, I have to do many different things. I'll say, hey, before you return, please would you mind if you take your prefix, right? The directory for the view resolver is going to be web-in. Inside web-inf directory, please resolve views in views directory, VIEW, as now you are resolving everything in views directory, as we had also previously done, right? If you remember, we did it maybe in interface project, right? Yeah, we did it in interface project, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, configuration is here. Front control, we also named it front control. You can see we resolved the views here, right? So same we are doing here today. But yeah, we just converted that project from XML based configuration to annotation based configuration, and this project we're not trying to convert, we're just trying to create it from the scratch. So this is my prefix, and what directories do you want to have inside this views folder, or inside this views directory? What are the files you want to have or you want to keep? So I'll say those files are going to be my suffix. Whatsoever file is, please suffix .gsp automatically. So now this is going to be my extension of the files which are going to reside inside this views folder. For example, we have welcome. If I say welcome, .gsps will be suffixed automatically. Right, so my views resolver is done. Since every single thing is done, my front controller is ready, my web.config is ready, both things are ready. So I'll close both of them. Now I'll go to my index.jsp. I'll say, hey, wait a second. Right, I will make a table, and I'll say tr. So let me make a tr, which is a table row, and I'll make a table division, and let me call this as enter num1, and I'll say enter, right, enter, not enter, input type equals, I'll say input type is equal to text, and name is equal to txt num1, right? So I'll say name is equal to txt num1. So now this thing is done, so I'll copy it. Okay, just close it down. Right, so I'll paste it here, and I'll say txt num2. So I'll say enter num2, and I will use the same here. So I'll say input type is submit, just to submit the form, and value is equal to calculate, right? And in order to submit this form to web server, I may require a form tag. So I'll say form action. Now we have to give action. So I'll say I want my action to be sum. Now you can see we will change many different things today, right? Okay, and I want the method to be post. By default, get is executed, right? Post has to be explicitly mentioned. If you don't mention it explicitly, if you do not mention any method at all, which method is going to be executed? Always HTTP post, right? Okay, by default it's not post. So if you don't mention anything here, get is going to be executed, right? Post is not going to be executed by default, right? It's always get that is executed by default. Now in order to execute post, you have to explicitly mention it, right? So now so far we have done everything right, despite of the fact, and yeah, we know that we don't have our front controller. If I go to training industry, right, I have not made any controller yet. Yeah, so but yeah, let's start and see what happens. Okay, all right, so let's start. Restart. Yeah, I don't mind restarting Apache web server. All right, so it's getting restarted. So by the time it restarts, all right, okay, building, and now it has started, right? Now once I click, I'll say, okay, I want my 100 and I have 200. Calculate how much is this. Now you go to sum. Okay, let me not have this slash here, because keeping this slash is going to erase everything, right? Okay, so I'll say 100 and 200. I'll say calculate. Now we go to training industry slash sum. That's absolutely fine. But now you can see, if I show you my console here, it shows no mapping found. So you have not found any mapping for training industry slash sum. No, yes, that's absolutely right. We have not mapped it yet. To map it, I told you we don't require a servlet here. We just require plain POJOs, plain old Java object files, right? And those we map with that of post or a get request. Doesn't matter whatever request you want to map that with. Both can be achieved. So let me show you that. Okay, now then we are going to this slash sum. So I will make accounts controller, right? Or we can say calculator controller, whatever you name it. So for example, mine is calculator, right? You can easily go and say public, right, model and view. So you can go public model and view and call this method anything. For example, add, right? So now you can say at the rate of request. You can say at the rate of request mapping. You are going to map it with sum. So I'll say slash sum. So whenever sum is basically hit, you are going to map. And yeah, this is going to be a controller. So you have to mark it as controller. Now what happens? You know, you're telling your front controller that I'm doing my component scan here in this package, org training industry dot controller package. So whenever you type any URL, component scan will happen in this. The moment that URL maps and matches with any function, right, and it gets executed, right? So now let me show, because the type of the function here is the type of the function here is model and view. I have to return back model and view. For that, I'll create an object. So I'll say model and view mv is equivalent to new model and view, right? Okay, now we can just terminate it and I'll say return mv. So now we are done. But before I return, I don't know why I misspelled this. Okay, before I return, now what I need to do, I need to do something here. I need to grab certain values. I'll say, hey, wait a second. Once the post is happening, once I submit, I click the submit button, I submit two input types, or I submit two HTML element values to this URL sum, that is txt num1 and txt num2. I'll say, okay, if you are submitting, I am bound to take them. So I'll go here, I'll say I'm taking a request parameter. Please, once the request comes, look for the request parameter. And what request parameter are you looking for? I'll say txt num1. What do you want to take it as? I want to take it as int num1. It says okay. Now look for another request param. Now what request param are you looking for? I say, hey, I am also looking for txt num2. I'll show you a most appropriate way of taking all the parameters in a object. That's what we have to deal with, object oriented. But yeah, in order to make you guys understand how things are working in Spring, once you get familiar with Spring, you'll do it like a pro. You'll find it very easy, right? As easy as dogs are finding it bark this time. So they find barking very easy, because amidst COVID-19 lockdown, they have nothing else to do but to bark at everyone who they see and everyone who they hear. Maybe they're hearing me this time, right? So they want to learn Spring. So they're learning Spring and you are also learning. Doesn't mean you're dogs, right? So you're students, my dear students. But yeah, dogs are also learning, right? So that's the fact. Alright, so now the second parameter I am going to be taken as int num2. So it is going to reduce two different things here. The reduction is going to be as that of no comma here, that you don't have to convert, right? You don't have to convert every single input that you take, right? So you don't have to convert. What you had to do, request.get parameter txt num2, then you had to do that you had to parse that integer.parseInt, right? Every request taken, every whenever you take anything from input type element, it's taken as string. You know that whether you take it from console, you take it from get, or from post parameter, you take everything as string. Then you have to explicitly parse that to integer using integer.parseInt. Here the thing is not valid, and the parsing is doing it's not that you it's not you who is required to do the parsing, right? Parsing is implicitly being done by Java itself, right? So now you understood this. Now what I say, before I call this model and view, let me do certain things right here. And one of the certain things that I want to do here is I want to add an object to, I'll say mv dot, so that is going to be my model. So that's going to be model mv. I'll say before I return this model, I want to add mv dot add object. And what is the object you want to add? It's a key and a value pair. I will say msg, which is message, and I'll say the sum of two numbers is equivalent to, and this is something that I want to add back to this function, right? I want to add to model and view. All right, and I will add something else to this model and view class, which is again going to be a key and a value pair. I will say mv dot add object, right? And I will say, I call this as sum, and I'll say sum is equivalent to num1 that I have just taken from here and num2. So now that's it. Now I say I want you to show me the view, or I want these things to get resolved using a view. Alright, so I will say set view name. So I'm setting the view name here, which is going to be my, I have only one view, that is welcome, so I'll say welcome. I don't have to type welcome.jsp here. Why? Because that .jsp extension is already resolved by this internal resource view resolver, right? So that .jsp extension is already being resolved right here. Okay, so that's why I don't have to type it here. The suffix, that's why I have mentioned it as suffix, right? You can see that it is set suffix JSP, set prefix. I did not mention where to resolve it, right? Now you can see I said welcome. Now it knows where the view is. You have already mentioned it in the front controller. The view destination directory or the home is this web inf views. It's already mentioned here, and you did not even mention the extension, that is .jsp. Why? Because that is already suffixed here, right? So that means you have already configured the view resolver. That's why you're not mentioning the directory name here, right? You're not mentioning the directory name, and neither you're mentioning .jsp, right? I suppose it's done, so let me now run it. All right, 100, 200, I still getting not found. All right, so request mapping slash sums. Okay, there are many XML changes, so I would like to restart because I did what I had to do. Alright, request mapping, component scan, everything is done, so I don't have to worry about. Yeah, where am I running the component scan? Yeah, controller, absolutely right. Okay, now let me go back to index.jsp and say 100 plus 200, and I still get 404 not found, and that's an issue. So I'll say okay, why do I get this? Okay, so I'll have to see this. Okay, for that I'll first see my console. No mapping found for HTTP request with URL trainingindustry.com/sum. Maybe we have not. It's already there. Sum, SUM, sum request mapping. Alright, so it's /sum model and view. Yeah, it's already there. What is the problem? Training industry is already there. Okay, wait a second. Okay, I find an error here. Now you can see that I have I have used small web here, right? You can see WEB. Actually, if you see that web right here, right, that web is basically capital, right? It's not small, right? So I'll see that again. I can see WEB dash INF. So View is resolved, not small, but it is capital web dash INF. Now I can see. Alright, so I'll have to try it again because I have changed it. Now I'll go back and say, hey, wait a second. $100 and $200. I'll say calculate. Okay, I still get this error 404. Let me run it again. Restart the server. VIEWS welcome. Yeah, it's welcome.jsp. And .jsp is the extension. VIEWS. Yeah, absolutely right. Everything is right. Component scan is right. Configuration is right. So every single thing is perfectly alright. Right, but the mapping is not happening. So I'll see it again and I'll rectify this error first. Before I rectify that, I need to get the error first, right? Why this is coming. So you have getting 404 not found. So we'll have to see why are we getting this error. Web.inf/views. Let me check in. Alright, so I forgot to tell you that we were making this web.config file. We said whenever slash happens, whenever you go after the slash, for example, you type training industry, that's not a problem. But as soon as you go after the slash, you type anything, the request goes to, for example, if I type sum, the request goes to, we have not configured that class right here because we just made that class after we were configuring it. You know that at the time we were configuring it. Sorry, I'm having some tongue twisters these days. Right, so the moment we were configuring it, we had to configure it, right? The moment we were configuring it, we forgot because we had to make this class. The moment we constructed and made this class, right, and created this class front controller, we had to mention it here. We forgot to mention. Now I'll say the moment you go and hit slash, you go and dispatch your request to the dispatcher servlet, which is going to be a class front. That is going to be front controller dot class, right? So it is going to be front controller dot class. Now let me see if I use the same. Okay, let it be. Let the compilation happen. Yeah, it's still happening. Okay, reloading is complete. So let me go again and try now, right? So now I'll try 100 and I'll say 200, and now I should get welcome.jsp, but yeah, I'm getting welcome.jsp here. But yeah, there's nothing inside welcome.jsp. I have to write something here. So I'll say welcome, and now I'll use expressions language. You can use this as well if you want to get it from request. You can use expressions also. You can say request.get parameter. All right, so that is MSG. So maybe was that what we set? Yeah, we set MSG and sum. We are adding two objects to this, so yeah, we can use that MSG and sum. So I'll refresh it. Null, not get parameter, get attribute, right? So I'll say request.get attribute MSG. So you can use this, and you can even use expressions language, or you can use expressions language or expressions itself, right? So depending on what you want to use. So if I refresh, the sum of two numbers is, now you're getting message, and now I'll use another thing that is sum. So I can use both right here. I can echo both right here, right? So if I refresh, I'll say the sum of two numbers is 300. Why? Because I passed 100. I'll say 300 plus 200, 500. The sum of two numbers is. Now this is how we are resolving our view right here. Now if I go back to this view resolver here, you can see prefix and suffix is absolutely right. But yeah, if I go back to calculator controller, and I can see that we are separately setting a view name, welcome. You can do it dynamically without even setting the view name. Model and view, MV is equal to new model and view, and here you can set the view name here as well, right? view name is set here. This is what you can do as well, right? Now say about I want to have more functions. For example, I want to have 1, 2, 3 functions. For example, why? I want one to work on subtraction, another to work on addition, another to work on multiplication, right? And this is going to be add, I call this as add, and this is going to be subtraction, I call this as subtract. This is going to be multiplication, I call this as multiplication. How do you achieve multiple mappings in a single controller? And for that, what I have to do, I have to mention the entire class as request mapping. That means whenever you type anything in the URL, you are going to call my class, which is this class, right? And whenever you call for request mapping, you are going to call this class. So what is the mapping you're looking for? Sum. So whenever you call sum, you're going to call this class, and sum is not sufficient. Now you have to mention which method you want to execute. Sum slash add, sum slash sub, sum slash multiplication. So let me have this different message. Let me have different message here. And the sum is here, and we can say the subtraction of two numbers is here, right? So I will just add here minus, and here I can say the multiplication, I mean multiply of two numbers is, I'll just multiply. I will just multiply right here, okay? Now we are handling multiple things in a single controller. Now we can see that if I go to sum, I'll get 404 not found. Why I get it? Because you have to see and you have to tell him the mapping method you're going to. Okay, sum is fine. You go and resolve your view, right? And you go and you see that the component scan is done in this package, and you go in this package, you find a controller, and you say, okay, sum controller is fine. Cal controller is found. Then you immediately find cal controller. The moment you find cal controller, you look for another. Now what inside cal controller? It's found, but there are many request mappings. Add is there, right? Sub is there, mul is there, right? What do you want? I'll say k. All right, so now I want with some add, right? I want you to add these two numbers. So I'll say, okay, no problem. I'll go and add them. Now if you refresh, you do 100 and 200, you'll say calculate, and you get the sum of two numbers is 300. But this time you're going to slash sum slash add. I repeat, you're going to slash sum slash add, right? So if I magnify it for you, now see this, you go into training, the slash sum, which is the class name, slash add, it is the method name, right? So this is how you do it. Now for example, I don't want to add, I want to subtract. I'll go to a different method known as sub. Sub is executed when you type slash sum slash sub. So slash sum means the class, and sub is here. It's going to set the message the sub of two numbers is, and it's going to minus means subtracted. Now let us see what change does. 100 and I'll say 50. Now sub, now you're getting the sub of two numbers is 50. Now I'll change it again. I'll say here I want to change it again. Now I want to go to mul, right, which is multiplied, and you will see that now you are going to get multiplication of two numbers is 100 into 20. The multiply of two numbers is 100 into 20 is 2000. This is how you can achieve multiple mappings. All right. And second thing, do I have to just call a request method like this? No, not necessary. You can, this is called within expressions. You can call expressions language as well, which is like this. So you can say MSG, and I want $SUM, right? So this is what you can also achieve, right? So now if I do the same, yeah, now you can see I've shown you this error was there in the previous class because you are not setting in 50% cases. In 50% cases you're not going to get this error, right? All right, but yeah, in remaining 50% cases you are going to get it. So for that you'll have to set EL. You will say is EL ignored false. Now do you have to call this within the page directory of your JSP page? Is EL ignored false? I don't want to ignore EL. So EL is basically not being taken as EL, it's being taken as plain text. For that you go and import this. Now if I refresh it, you get the multiply of two numbers is 200. That's point number one. Point number two. Point number two is, yeah, we already know that this can also be achieved, slash sub slash and now you can achieve multiple things in a single controller, and that's what the magic of Spring is. That's what I like about Spring, that it gives us luxury of handling different things and different things in a different manner. Not only different things in different manners, but different things differently, right? And that too reducing us to write the minimum amount of code instead of maximum amount of code, right? So second thing that I want to show you, for example, now if I have another package right here, right? So I have a package and I call this package as model, right? So I'll say let's call this as org dot let's say training industry. I'll say I have another package now, org dot training industry dot model, and inside now this model I have a class. Let me call this class as publish, right? So whatever you want to call this class as. So I have this class publish, right? Let me have another name to this class, for example comment, right? So let me have it comment, right? So I'm going to use this class to comment, right? So I am going to rename this file to comment, and this is going to have the name of type string, number one, who is commenting, and then private string, right, comment. What is the comment and who is commenting, right? For that, I'll make number one. I'll make a complete Pojo class. So I'll go to source. Inside source, I'll go generate constructor using field. So I'll generate a constructor. And second thing that I am going to do is generate. Okay, sorry. Why am I generating this super here? Right. So now, second thing that I will do is I will generate another constructor which is a 0 parameter constructor. So there's a must for Pojo. And last but not the least, I am going to go to source and create getters and setters. Now I'll generate getters and setters and I'm done, right? So now this my model is done, and I'll go immediately to index.jsp, right? And I will just call another function known as comment. For example, I have another function known as comment in this class sum. So I'll say enter your name, and I'll make sure enter comment, and input type text I'll use it instead of this. I'll use a text area, right? So I will say name is equal to txt comment, and here txt name, right? Or I can simply say it's going to be name and it's going to be comment, right? So name and comment are two different things. And you mind if I give columns? So I'll say cols is equal to 30 and rows is equal to 6, right? So let me see now how does it look like. Yeah, now we have enter comment, and instead of calculate I'll say comment, right? So now I have to go to this slash comment. I have to make this function comment right here. I'll go to the same calculator or maybe same controller, and I'll say, hey, wait a second. What I want from you is the following. I want this whenever you hit comment, right? I want this function comment to be executed, and it is taking two different things, that is name as string name, and taking comment as comment comment as string comment, right? Or we can say string cmt, or we can say cmt. You can say string comment is taken as string cmt, right? Okay, now since you're taken it model, you want to resolve it at welcome, no problem. But yeah, I don't want this. What I want something different here today. Now that different thing is something that I want to add the complete object to model rather than adding to a single thing. I want it to be completely added to the model, right? And for that, what am I going to do to add to the model? All right, what I will do right here, I will call my class which is going to be comment, right? So comment yeah, it's here. So I will call comment class, that is model. So let me see this. All right, so I'll call this class comment, right, and it is here. So I will say comment C is equivalent to new COMMENT, right. So I'll import it. Fine. Why don't you import it? This is what happens at times. Alright guys, I had to break for iftar, so I had to break the fast. Okay, now here I am. Now let me import it first. I'll import org.trainingindustry.model.comment, right? Now because I want to make sure that I add the complete comment here in the model itself, right? Alright, now then we have added the model. Okay, now my model already takes, comment model already takes two parameters in the constructor. So I'll say is equal to new comment, and it takes two parameters in the constructor. We go and see, one is name, first is name, another is comment. All right, now I'll take both name and comment. So I'll say first parameter is name and second is CMT, right? So now you have mapped input with the model, and instead of adding this, we can say, instead of adding, let me even add message also there. Let me go and create this right here. So now we have added it, no problem. So I'll say mv.add object msg, right? The comment is, so message is going to be the comment is, or let me not add this, let me add simple. So I'll say key and a value comment, and I will add the complete object C. Now what is happening here, I'll repeat. The moment you call slash comment, which is going to be the URL, it's going to be slash sum slash comment. So whenever you call slash come slash comment slash sum slash comment, right, this model and view is going to be called, and you're going to accept name and comment as a parameter, which you are going to pass to the model, and you are forwarding model as a request object to this we can say welcome, right? So because welcome is going to be a new model, and that with request, the model has the request object of this. You are adding object which is the complete object of comment, not like separately like we used to add message and then you used to add comment. No, I'm adding the complete object of comment with the name and comment already being passed to it, right? So now I'll go to my welcome page and I'll say, hey, I don't want this now, right? Because my model name is now if I go to comment, let me close it down, I'll go to controller. Now it is going to be comment. Now I have to ask comment. I'll say, hey, I need to get comment dot, it has name, and I need to get comment dot, what is that? Comment dot name and comment dot comment, CMT, or you can say string COMMENT comment. Here also COMMENT comment. Okay. Right. When you call this, you pass two parameters. Both the parameters go to the object. Object goes to welcome, and in welcome, you say you want to get comment dot comment and comment dot name, because you have extracting it out of the model now, which is comments model right here, right? If I go to model, you're extracting it out of comment dot name, comment dot comment. So that's what you have set here in cal controller, right? Okay, I'll save this. You have set, comment name and comment, whatever you're receiving as the parameter, as a request parameter, right? So let me go and do this, refresh. I will say my name is this. This is very nice, right? Or Spring MVC gives us luxury to write handsome controllers and functions. Right, so now I'll say comment. Okay, we go to sum, training industry slash sum slash comment. Right, just a moment. I go to slash sum, right, and then I go to slash comment. Right, okay, this is absolutely all right. So I don't have any problem here. What if I go to slash sum slash add? No, it's not working. Add should work. Sub should work. Add is there. Sub is there. So let me restart it and see, because at times you have to restart in order to get the things right, right? Alright, now everything else is set fine. So this is front controller. Front controller is working absolutely fine. Right, views are being resolved, everything is fine now, right? Okay, let me go ahead and test this. Training industry, I'll say Fahim and hello. So let me see. All right, I should be able to get it now. Yeah, Fahim and hello. Now we are able to get. At times you have to restart it. So let's Spring frame work, right, with Spring MVC is very good, right? So I'll say comment. Now you can say Fahim Khan has commented Spring framework with Spring MVC is very good. If you want to just hit a BR right here, so you can hit a BR, or if you want to display comment in a nice paragraph tag, you could do that as well. Display it in a nice paragraph tag and refresh it, and you will see this is your comment and this is your, and if you want to display name in an h2 tag, you can take it in h2, and that's the magic of EL, which is expressions language, right? So now you can go and refresh again, and you can see Fahim Khan has commented, and the comment of Fahim Khan is Fahim Spring framework with Spring MVC is very good, right? So this is how you do it. Now in order, if I want to accept, let me see timing. So we still have good amount. No, we are already we are running past time, right? So let me give you an overview of what we have done so far. What we have seen so far today is that we can make the entire controller work as, you know, the boss of the URL, right? And we can use model and view functions as sub URLs, right? And we can even send a complete object to the view resolver, and instead of sending one by one, you know, we can say key and a value pairs. Here we are sending complete object as, we are sending C as comment and C has name. So we'll say C dot name, C dot comment, and that's what we are extracting here. And what we have been able to do today is configure everything in a very nice manner, not using even a bit of XML, but each and everything annotation based. Tomorrow I will show you a few more things, including attributes, including path variables, including automatic model mappings, and much more coming tomorrow. And you need to be in sync with me. Let me know down in the comment section if you can help me. Sorry, if you want any help from, no, how can you help me? So if you want any help from my side, let me know down in the comment section. Or if you want any extra class for any extra thing, or you that you have not understood so far, so I shall be content and I shall be waiting for you. And please be in sync with me. And next video I'll be showing more different things, including path variables. Until then, I wish you all the best. Bye bye, take care, see you.